You're listening to the Way of TBL's official podcast, Truth Talks with Sam and Alex.
Join us as we explore all things truth, beauty, and love.
Welcome, everybody, to today's Truth Talk. Last week, we spoke on the benefits of conscious living, and in today's talk, we'll be diving into the power of conscious relationships.
Yeah, and we can cultivate a conscious relationship with anybody, really, and first and foremost, with ourselves.
Yeah.
However, in today's conversation, our focus is going to be primarily on romantic relationship with a partner.
Yeah. And there's nothing that really develops you, matures you, and inspires you to become more authentically yourself at your very best than your experience of romance with your partner, the experience of intimacy that you share in being present with your partner. There's nothing that quite develops you and self actualizes you like that part of your life. And we'll just start by defining what a conscious relationship is. And as we define it, it's a spiritually aligned connection shared between two people that goes beyond emotional attachment, sexual attraction, and or circumstantial convenience. It has more substance, meaning, and depth because both people understand the value of living a life that is not only true to themselves, but brings out the best in the other person they share this connection with. They strive to communicate with each other on everything, at all times, clearly and genuinely, and are both working towards a shared vision for the future that they wish to make manifest together. That's really it in a nutshell, isn't it, Samantha?
It is. It absolutely is. And we can think about, why do we form relationships with people, right? Why do we get into a romantic relationship to begin with? And I know a lot of times, and this is true for myself as well. I think my first boyfriend, I was 13. And a lot of people have these, relationships from quite a young age, but it's like, why are you in this relationship with this person, right? What is the reason to be dating, I guess, because most of the time we are coming from a space of lack within ourselves, and also, I guess, not understanding the the essence or the true power of having a committed and closely aligned relationship, right? And so we go out into the world sort of like looking for things that are going to fill this void, something that will, help us feel more fulfilled and to have more meaning. I know a lot of people that I've spoken to are always like, oh, I need that person to complete me. I need this person so that I can feel loved. And so a lot of people are going out into the dating world really from a space of trying to fill this void that they really should be filling themselves.
Right.
Because when we go out, yeah, when we go out to connect with people from that space, that's how we form these attachments to people, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's something that only you can give yourself. Only you can love you the way you feel you need to be loved. That's where it all begins. It is a primordial love for yourself and your life, your relationship with life, and how much you love your life, how much you love yourself is where it all begins. No one else can feel that. No one else can satisfy that but you. And
Mm.
it's interesting you bring out and talk about your experiences when you were younger as a kid
Yeah.
because as someone who grew up in a highly restrictive religious environment, I didn't have any of those experiences. I didn't really start engaging with regards to intimacy, with regards to being intimate with a woman, until recently over the past few years,
Mhm.
developing my sense of self worth, my sense of confidence as a man.
Yeah.
And yeah, for such a long time, even into my late teens and early 20s, I lacked that sense of confidence, that sense of groundedness. I I didn't really have those experiences, but I do appreciate that in that time, especially as I started really diving into my own development as a person and
Yeah.
started like cultivating my own personality outside of the way I was raised, I
Mhm.
was able to really reflect. And this is what I'm grateful for.
Mhm.
Despite everything
Absolutely.
that I experienced growing up, I was able to take a step back and reflect on the way everybody else went about their relationships. I was able to really objectively observe how they went about doing things, the two faced experiences these relationships would have, the double lives a lot of people lived. And yeah, just to see how these experiences are not what I wanted out of my relationships. I did not want to experience dating in that way. If I'm going to experience it, I'm going to experience it authentically. I'm going to
Mhm.
experience it with someone who is just as interested in being genuine, in connecting with me from the place of authenticity. And I'm not going to accept anything less because I know what that leads to. I know what that looks like. I'm not interested in fake shit.
Mhm.
And
Exactly.
yeah, and
Exactly. And
so I was able
that's
to at least reflect on that.
absolutely, and that's why our everything that we experience in life is always here to serve as a teacher for us. And in cultivating that conscious relationship, it comes back to becoming a conscious individual first, right? As we spoke about in our last episode, living a conscious lifestyle, it all begins with you, and that's why when we realize that we are whole and complete as we are on our own, right? We are not looking externally for someone to fill that void. That is when we can really connect authentically and genuinely and coming from a space of fullness rather than a space of lack. And this is how we form a true connection and not an attachment, right? We're not attaching to this person because they have filled this position in our life that has brought us so much happiness.
Right.
Because then what happens when that person's no longer there, right? And we see this all the time with, people that break up and separate in their relationships. And there is so much toxicity in just in their connection, right? There is a lot of arguing and there is a lot of blaming. There is a lot of manipulation against each other. And ultimately, that purely comes down to the fact that you have attached yourself to this person and given them this authority in your life that you, as the saying says, as the saying goes, wearing the rose colored glasses, are not able to truly see them for who they are.
Yes. And as we've expressed before, all anger and frustration is delayed expressions of authenticity, delayed expressions of honesty. And when you're engaging consciously with your partner, you are honest. You're straight up with them. You are able to call a spade a spade. And when there's an issue or a disagreement, you don't hold back so as not to disturb or to cause arguments. You're not afraid of
Yeah.
that. You have the courage to express yourself freely and to show up 100% of the time. You
Mhm.
strive for
And
that.
that,
You're not afraid of that.
yeah, that keeps you in integrity with yourself. as
There's never
well.
gonna be a blow up if you do that.
Yeah,
That's how you completely avoid blow ups and explosive arguments.
exactly. Because even if what you have to share to the other person may not be ideal, and you may get a response that, again, you can't really know, right? It's all assumptions.
Exactly. You can't assume anything.
People don't share. No, you can't assume anything. And ultimately, it's when you're holding back information, when you're holding back the truth, there is this energy that is felt, right? You can tell in your relationships, even when you're not completely conscious, you feel when there's something off. We have these instincts, right? Our intuition is always guiding us, whether we are aware of it or not. And so when you are just not being truthful, you are taking the choice away from the other person, because you are assuming that they are going to react in a certain way. And because you want to avoid that reaction, you are also then, you might think that you're just, okay, what they don't know won't hurt, but it is ultimately keeping a lie and throwing you also out of integrity, because you are not being honest.
Yeah,
And so when we can be honest, though, and we can express everything truthfully, we are then allowing the other person to have the choice over what it is that they want to do with that information.
exactly.
And as we've seen in our own experience, being honest is always going to bring you closer together, even if what you hear is not ideal, because that person
Exactly.
has been honest with you. That just, it comes across loving, and there's no, what's the word? There's no manipulation at play.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like you're able to have a deeper, more meaningful dialogue with your partner as a result. You know, I remember when Samantha and I started having conversations about our connection and where in what direction our relationship was going, right? As
Hmm.
a man that starts to develop his groundedness and his power and his overall personality, that confidence is immensely attractive to feminine energy. And so, what I expressed to Samantha initially is that I wasn't really in a space to be exclusive to her. And I've always been direct, I've always been honest and upfront about that with her. And even though I knew that she wasn't going to be completely pleased by that, I knew that she needed to know that about me, and that is how I felt. And if I had held that back from her, if I pretended to be all in from the start, even though it's not the way that I initially felt, she would have had a false expectation of me. She would have had a false idea of who I am. And that's what you do when you hold
And
back the way that you feel,
yeah.
the way that you truly think about things. You're projecting this idealized version of yourself onto that person. They're not really seeing you for
And
who you are.
mhm. And just to bring a little more context to our specific relationship, we we are still in a long distance relationship, and we will speak about that in another episode, and go into depth
Yeah,
about that.
that's gonna be
It's
a
been
good
such a
one.
beautiful experience. Yeah. And by being conscious individuals and just being truthful, that this is why we are now just about going on 3 years, and we've been able to not only maintain, but we've been able to grow and start co-creating life together, even at a distance.
Yeah,
And which is why at the start, however, it's again, it's still the same for in-person relationships, but it would be probably a little more difficult, I think, for the woman to accept when in an in-person relationship, to know that it is not an exclusive relationship. And there is a lot that we also worked through, right, my love? There is so much that we worked
yeah,
through, that
definitely,
we grew
definitely. It up
from.
leveled. that
Yeah,
experience up-leveled your sense of confidence, your sense of
absolutely.
self-respect and self-worth, because this is something a lot of women struggle with. They
Hmm.
struggle with deep levels of self-respect and self-worth, which
Yeah,
is why they'll put up with a man who, even though even though this man acknowledges
yeah.
this truth about himself, she's willing to put up with this man being
Hmm. Yeah, even if
basically a
it's not
player
something that
type,
she actually wants.
you know,
Yeah.
to put it plainly.
And
This
for me,
player,
mhm,
because at
with
least
you
he's
being,
more exciting.
sorry, go.
He's more, it's okay,
Yeah.
baby. At least it's more exciting. At least this gentleman is
Hmm.
bringing that fire to the dynamic that most men don't,
Hmm.
because of his sense of groundedness, because he has the courage to be upfront with her, whereas most men don't. They haven't developed that sense of internal strength, that strong sense of reality that they have. And that is very attractive to a woman. She'll put up with him, but at the cost
Until
of
she
her
grows.
own intuition, at the cost of
Yeah.
her self respect, at the cost of her self worth, and to her in
Hmm.
her mind, with regards to the more immature or less developed aspects of her personality, she is willing to
Hmm.
put up with that because it's worth it in the long run, according to her.
That's right. And with you being so completely open and honest with me right from the start, I also avoided forming an attachment to you. Because reflecting back, I can see how that could have been quite possible. You know, I could have formed an attachment, but because of your openness with me and letting me know that, I'm not ready for exclusivity right now, it is what I want in the future with you, and so coming from that space, I was like, okay, he's being completely open and honest. We have amazing conversations. I am growing as a woman because of his presence in my life. Is this something that I want to throw away because it's not exactly the way I want it from the start?
Mm,
No. I saw it as an opportunity to grow, which I have. We both have because of it. And we were able to form this deeper connection because of just you being so open and honest with me right from the get go.
yeah.
There was none of these false, false,
Pretenses, false
what's, yeah,
expectations. To be straight up from the start is the absolute best foundation for a relationship, because what you're building upon is substantial
yeah.
with
And
each
then you're letting
conversation you
the other
have.
person, mhm. But just you're letting the other person have the choice of whether this is for them or not.
Exactly. Most
And
importantly,
you're not making the choice for them and pretending to be exclusive when you're not.
right.
And then this other person thinks that they're living this life when really it's a made up fairy tale. It's an illusion. It's really not what the truth is.
Yeah, exactly. You're giving them that space to make that choice, and you trust yourself
Hmm.
first by being honest with the other person. You're trusting that regardless of what you have to say, regardless of what you're going to express with that person, that that love will persist and that they will appreciate your genuineness, your honesty. And if they're bothered by that, if they're triggered by that, they were never the right person anyway. And you're saving yourself time, energy, and effort
Hmm.
by
And so
clearing
now,
the air from the very start.
yeah, just now being in a conscious relationship, whether you are in a relationship already or not, it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that you have to leave your current relationship to pursue a conscious relationship. It really comes down to the individuals in that relationship wanting to become conscious individuals and to continue to grow together, as a couple, as individuals separately, but then coming together as a couple. Because again, right, relationships are mirrors. They really are mirrors, and we at any given time, we are always attracting where we're at in order to learn and continue to grow and expand within ourselves. And so in forming this conscious relationship, we we are just so real with each other, right? And we really grow, and we do this by having all of those uncomfortable conversations.
Yeah.
And as difficult as it is initially to open up and speak about things that are bothering, or things that have upset you, it's really being able to hold space for our partner, being able to have them feel safe to open up and speak about what it is that they are feeling. Because, again, in traditional relationships, most of the time, people will hold it in and then they will like lash out at each other. You know, you did this and you did that and you did, you know what I mean? Or you didn't do XYZ, right?
Exactly.
And what we have to remember is our partner is not a mind reader, right? They cannot know every single thing that you were thinking.
Yeah.
However, when we build that close connection, we can feel when something is not quite right. Right? We intuitively can feel when the energy is dropped,
Exactly.
when one of us I just are going through something. And so by being present and aware with each other, and I know, gosh, there's so many instances where, again, it's always right. We many times have these kinds of conversations, and the more you hold space and you are able to come together and really speak about what it is that you need to speak about, for one, so much peace that then comes over you from having expressed what it was that you've been holding on to.
Right.
And two, you come to a beautiful resolution at the end of it, right? And this is why people avoid these conversations, because they feel that it's going to bring conflict. When really, when we're coming from a space of growth, we know that by having this conversation, we are going to have a beautiful resolution, and we are going to get even closer as a couple because of it. And so
Exactly.
then you stop avoiding the conversations and you see them as opportunities for growth.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's been so beautiful to see how, in our case, the way in which I initially inspired you
Mhm.
to
Yeah.
develop aspects of your femininity, later, after coming full circle, you then inspire me to introspect, self reflect, self inquire, and ultimately self discover things about
Mm,
myself that were holding me back. Like we had mentioned previously with regards to
mm,
my perspective, my initial perspective when it comes to dating and relationships.
mm,
It wasn't just that I felt that way initially, I believed that that is how it should be. That
mhm,
when you are that confident, when you are that naturally magnetic and graceful, because you've developed all of these different aspects of your masculinity, that there's no way you can just be a one woman man. And we would have those kinds of
mhm,
conversations. And Samantha, unlike a traditional woman, unlike most women that I've communicated with, it wasn't like an ultimatum. She gave me the space to inquire. She gave me the space to take a step back and reflect, to really observe whether I actually believe that or not. She wouldn't lash out at me. She, in a very feminine way, would simply essentially ask me, in essence, is that so?
mhm.
Is that
Yeah.
really so, Alex?
And
And
because for
that's,
me, having, yeah, go on, you finish.
yeah, no, that's what a woman does. A very feminine woman. does that. She doesn't tell you what to do as a man. She loves the strength of your leadership. She finds
Mhm.
refuge in your leadership, but she also has you reflect on how you can become a better leader, how you can become a better man. She
Mhm.
doesn't tell you what to do. She doesn't tell you how things are. She has you really pause and reflect through the way she communicates with you and has you dig deeper into yourself. Uh, yeah, go on, baby. Say what you're gonna say.
Yeah, no, how for me, it's when I really knew what I wanted, and when I really grew within myself and that confidence grew and my trust within myself grew, I was then able to say to you, okay, well, you say that you eventually do want to have a family with me. So then what is in the way right now? Because clearly you know what it is that you want.
Right.
Why do you still feel the need to to be this way now? And it was through those questions, as you said, that have you then inquire within yourself. And I guess I trust that you can think for yourself. I
Yeah,
trust that
exactly.
if you dig deep within
Trust is really at the
yourself,
heart of it all.
yeah, oh my gosh, it is.
Yeah, it's at the
Definitely.
very core of it all.
Mhm. And yeah, that's how really all even if it's conversations with other people and not specifically with your romantic partner, in connecting with other people, it's how can we completely express our truth and have them express their truth without us putting our own words in their mouth, basically, right?
Right.
We're not wanting people to just want what we want, and we don't want people to just tell us what we want to hear. We really want people being themselves, right? At the end of the day, that's what it comes down to, is we don't want to be connecting with someone who is just changing themselves for us, because there's going to come a point in time where they're not going to be happy being that way. And in our most recent TV series, Greek TV series that we've been watching, there is a
So funny.
couple
You
who
literally beat me to the punch by like 2 minutes.
were you going to?
Go ahead.
Yeah, there is a couple who believe they need to be a certain way for this other person, right? They have a lot of superficial expectations. And at the end, where they're arguing, she's like, I had to make myself be this way and that way so that you would love me. And he's like, well, I had to do this and that. And it's like, hold on. Whoever told you to do anything that wasn't you, right? Whoever said
Yeah.
that you have to show up this way in order to be with a certain person.
In order
And
for
we
me to
place
love you,
these own
who told you that you
assumptions.
needed to
Yeah,
pretend to be something you're not?
exactly.
Yeah.
And we have these assumptions and expectations we place upon ourselves, and
And
it's not
here's the
even
thing.
true.
You can't ask for the world to be authentic when you aren't.
Hmm.
Because
Exactly.
when you're bullshitting the world is gonna bullshit you. When you're being authentic, you're giving everyone the invitation to be authentic and genuine as well. You're only going
Yeah,
to get what you give. You can't expect for everybody to be real
exactly.
with you when you're lying to yourself. When you're playing yourself, everyone else is going to
Hmm.
do the same. And that's what we saw in those two characters. You know, their whole
Yeah,
relationship was them playing each
definitely.
other. They were playing themselves
Yep.
first, but that's what they attracted.
Hmm. And yeah, so having a conscious relationship really is just, it's being your true authentic self, and it's sharing that with an individual who is also their true authentic self, and it's being able to communicate on everything. It's being able to co-create life together based on your shared values and principles,
Yeah.
right? And it's about always being present in the moment and taking accountability and being honest and accepting with where you're at, because again, all relationships have their durations, right? We never know whether it's going to be a short one or a long one. And regardless of how long it is, we must always still be true to ourselves. And so when you find in your relationship that you are moving in different directions, it's being able to acknowledge that. And it's being
And be
able
okay
to
with that.
either,
Yeah.
and being okay with that, that's right. And being able to then also separate consciously, which I have experienced myself with my ex-husband. You know, there was for quite some time, I knew that the relationship was over, right? And women, we know when it's done. We always do. I remember having a conversation with my mum about a year and a half prior. And she was like, you know it's over, right, Sam? And I said, yeah, I do. I feel it. I know it. The energy is gone between us. It's not right for me. But I was still codependent on him. I still hadn't completely healed within myself, and I was still putting a lot of blame on him. And, my mum was also saying, in all my relationships, I always knew that I was ready to leave, but it always took me a year and a half to 2 years before I actually did it, before I actually left. And, this is a lot of the times why a lot of men feel kind of blindsided by a woman just up and leaving, because she hasn't been open completely and expressed herself authentically to him. Or maybe she's tried, but he's gaslighted her in a way, and she then reacts to that, and people just blow up, right? They just have arguments.
Yeah.
But in that space of time of a year and a half for myself, I did a lot of, soul seeking. That is where I grew so much within myself. And ultimately, I was able to separate through love and have complete gratitude for my ex husband and the role that he played in my life for the last 13 years that I was with him. Right. And we brought two beautiful children to life during that time. And I was able to just have gratitude for everything. And there was no more blame. There was no more pointing the finger at each other. There was no more just placing blame on all these external factors that are really not true. Like at the end of the day, we are never intentionally wanting to hurt the person that we are in a relationship with. We never intentionally want to hurt them. However, we must take that accountability for ourselves and just know, okay, there are things that happened on both ends, but none of that is really relevant anymore. We can forgive. Again, we never forget. We forgive and we move on. And we are then at peace with whatever happened during that relationship. But in being able to then separate consciously, we have the best friendship now. And
Yeah.
it's so beautiful to be able to experience that, and to be able to share Alex and I's relationship with him, and to be able to hear about him meeting a new woman now recently, and to just be able to speak as friends, because we do have shared history with each other. But it was upon accepting the fact that we are no longer, you know eh, the people that we thought that we would be for each other forever, right? It was letting go of this
Exactly.
illusion that we held on to, thinking that this is the way our life should be. And it's such a beautiful thing. And we will speak about, conscious separation in the next episode.
Yeah,
We can go into
exactly.
more
It's so
detail. Yeah.
powerful because it's thanks to that whole process that I share a very positive connection with Thanos, her ex.
Hmm.
And I'm
Yeah.
grateful to him because if not for him, I wouldn't have the beautiful experience of connecting with these two girls that I now see as my daughters. You know, the beautiful relationship that they have with me would not be possible if not for Thanos. And so a lot of that is feeling gratitude for that experience and
Yeah.
feeling gratitude for the way things have unfolded when we're speaking truthfully, genuinely, at all times, when we're being as authentic as we possibly can with the other person. That is the core, that is the foundation of a conscious relationship. That's really what it's all about. And the peace that comes from that is
Mhm.
indescribable. It's nearly indescribable. That's what we really
Yeah,
want from our partner.
absolutely. And if not for his presence in my life, I wouldn't be the woman I am today, right? I wouldn't
Exactly.
have learned the things that I
Can't just
needed to
disregard
learn
that. We can't just
while
disregard
being
the
with
other
him.
person. They're part of our development. And,
Yeah.
and I feel like that's what a lot of people do. They block the
Mhm.
other person, or they completely disregard their experience with that person just because they were the
Yeah.
wrong person. It's like,
Mhm.
no, that they may not have been right for you at that point in time, but your experience with that person is what makes you the person you are today. Is what makes you the
Yeah.
person that your partner loves so much.
Mhm. Absolutely. And when you are able to see all the lessons that have come through that relationship, is when you are then able to, I guess, heal from certain patterns within yourself, right? This is where we see a lot of people that have relationships, and they say how they continue to attract the same kind of person, and they're like, but I don't want to have, the same person again, but in another body. But that is what they continue to experience because they are not learning what they were meant to learn about themselves from that individual. And so life is just going to keep throwing it at you, like we said in the last conversation, in regards to circumstances and experience. It's the same with people and relationships in your life.
Yeah,
Unless you are going to learn what it is that you need to learn about yourself, what this person is reflecting back to you, you're just going to continue to attract the same person. And you realize, if I want to attract something different, I need to become that first. So, what is it that I'm not learning? Just seek out what it is that you're not seeing about yourself. Because again, it's taking accountability, isn't it?
yes.
A lot of times we
And
just fail to take
mhm,
accountability. Yeah.
yeah, and self-awareness is really what it comes down to, becoming more self-aware.
Oh my gosh,
There is a
yes.
subconscious pattern of thinking and behaving that is causing you
Hmm.
to be attracted to and to manifest those circumstances over and over again
Yeah.
that you're just not aware of. You're not completely aware
Hmm.
of what is at play in your mind,
Yeah.
in your subconscious mind. And when you become more aware of that, you're able to see what it is that you truly value in a
Hmm.
relationship, what you really want out of that connection. And if it's not in alignment with that, you dip out. You're not just going
Hmm.
to forego your boundaries. You're not going to forego your values, which is
No.
what people tend to do. They just
Hmm. Um,
forego
yeah.
their boundaries, they forego their values, and they put up with it.
Hmm. Exactly. I mean, that's how we attracted each other into our lives. We knew what it was that we wanted, and we knew that it will also come when it's meant to come. And this is another beautiful topic that we can speak about at another time. Um, how when we are seeking something and we are searching for it, we open ourselves up to so many various things to come through, right? And because when we're seeking, we're really ultimately coming from a space of lack, that we don't have said person or thing in our life, right? And so when we
You are the thing that
let
you're
go
looking for.
of the need,
That's the understanding that you come
exactly.
to. You are the thing that you're looking
Yeah,
for. You have to become that first.
that's right. You have to. You have to let go of thinking that I need this, or again, you can want, but it's not coming from a space of need. It's not coming from a space of lack. It's not coming from a space of filling that void. You are that, and you allow for that person to come into your life when they are meant to, and they will only come when you internally have let, and you will hear so many stories, right, of people that, oh my goodness, like this person came into my life when I least expected it. And it's because it's when you are not seeking that naturally you will attract exactly what it is that you need.
Effortlessly, effortlessly.
Hmm.
And it's again trust. You have trust in yourself.
Yeah.
You have that self confidence that you are the thing you're looking for, and it will come at the appointed time and not a moment later. your trust in that is so strong that you don't worry. You don't try.
Mhm.
You're not trying to make it happen for yourself in a particular or specific way. You're not controlling that outcome anymore. You're completely letting go. You are indifferent to whatever plays out for you because you are already what
Mhm.
you're looking for. It's going to happen when it's going to happen at the
Mhm.
perfect time in the perfect way.
Yeah.
And you've got to be ready for what's
Like,
going to come next because when that person finally comes into your life, when they pop into your awareness, all of the self inquiry, all of the self
mhm.
reflection is going to get even deeper,
Oh yeah.
which is why
Oh
a lot of
gosh.
people don't have that experience, that romance of a lifetime, because they're really not ready for what that involves. They have this
Mhm.
idealized, romanticized version of what a
Yeah.
conscious relationship is, but they're not really ready for all of the deeper levels of development that are
Oh
to
yeah.
come with that person being just as conscious and as self-aware as you, because
Mhm.
you've been doing this development, this working on yourself on your own.
Mhm.
But it's another thing entirely when you have now someone that is serving as a mirror and
Oh
another
yeah.
light shining on your blind spots. And that's
Mhm.
another point that I wanted to bring up here is that we all have
Yeah.
blind spots. It's like when you're driving, you're always going to have a
Yeah.
blind spot, no matter how closely you are looking in all the mirrors.
Mhm.
There's always a blind spot that you won't be able to see. And that's what your partner does for you. Your partner is
Yeah.
able to shine a light on your personal blind spots, things that you,
Yeah.
as much as you would like to acknowledge, or as much as you would like to think that you are aware of your behaviors and your subconscious patterns of thinking, those blind spots are still there, which is why you do things a certain way, which is why you
Yeah.
hold yourself back, and you're not really understanding why that is. Your partner will bring that to the forefront, and that may be
That's right.
unpleasant. That very likely will be unpleasant for you to experience,
Absolutely.
as
And
it
this
was
is
for me.
also how we get into the deeper layers of healing and going into generational trauma as well. Because not everything that we have suppressed is only our own, right? We inherit basically, these subconscious beliefs from our parents and, the lineage before them. And so it's only really when we get into this space of complete surrender, right? Because it is complete surrender and it's complete vulnerability and it's just opening up boxes and spaces that have never been opened before. And
Yeah,
we can really only get there when we get to this really deep level of intimacy and connection, which from what we have seen and observed, and we will again expand upon this in another conversation, happens when you are connecting with one person.
you can only get
One
that
person.
from really
Yeah.
focusing your attention on that individual. You can't get that
Yeah.
when your attention is spread thin.
And we see the
Even,
parallels
yeah,
in life, right? We see that in business as well.
exactly.
Or in studying, right? You can't have 10 different things going on at the same time. You will not be able to focus and direct your energy and really get anything complete. You need to focus on one thing at a time, pour all your focus and all your energy onto that. And that is when you will have beautiful results from that one, though, because it is concentrated, right? It is pure. It's concentrated on this one thing that you are pouring
Exactly.
into.
Yeah. When you have
And
a bunch of projects that you're working on,
yeah.
you're working on all of them, but all of them are unfinished. All of them
Hmm.
remain unfinished.
That's right.
And it's the same exact way with our relationships.
Yeah.
You're not able to really experience the depth and the levels of intimacy and romance and self actualization
Yeah.
in every way, shape, and form with that person when your attention is spread thin.
Hmm. Yeah. It's so beautiful. And another thing to note that we didn't mention is how conscious relationships transcend time and space, right?
They do. And
We
distance.
were speaking about
All
this
of these are
before. Yeah.
illusions. Like
Mhm.
Samantha mentioned earlier, we're in a long distance relationship, but we've never felt so much fulfillment, so much
Mm.
satisfaction and pleasure from our relationship because of the way that we connect with each other. All of it
And it's only gotten
comes down
stronger
to
and
our
stronger,
presence. Yeah.
really. Mhm.
Because again, you have people that will say, oh, well, it's different. When you're in person with someone, you're really going to get to know them. You're really going to get a good
Mhm.
understanding of who they are. But the truth
Yeah.
is, how many people can bullshit you straight to your face and pretend to be
Mhm.
someone they're not right in front of you,
Oh, yeah, you could be living in the
you
same
know,
household and not actually even know who that person is.
for years. When people tell us that,
Yeah.
it's like, how the hell does that happen? You know,
Yeah.
we can
No, that's
pretend
right.
to
I
be
mean,
someone that we're not at all,
yeah.
even with someone right in front of us. And what it comes down
I mean,
to,
gosh.
again, is the level of
Yeah.
presence you have in communication with that person, the level at which you are observing their patterns of
Mhm.
thinking and behavior, and you're able to express, you're able to communicate what you see in them, what you
Mhm.
feel in them. That's
Yeah.
all it comes down to.
And it's creating that spiritual home, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that
Spiritual
is
home
established
is.
before everything else is made manifest. Really, in your mind's eye,
Mhm.
the essence of that experience is created first, is established first, and that can only come when you are approaching the relationship from a place of self-awareness, when
Mhm.
you are becoming fully conscious, when you are becoming fully self-aware of how you want to experience this relationship.
Yeah.
What are your values? What are your boundaries? What do you really want out of this experience? And you communicate
Mhm.
all of that up front.
Yeah. Exactly. And then throughout your relationship, you you end up becoming each other's coach, right? We have
Yeah, literally.
absolutely seen that with each other.
Samantha is my personal coach. She's my mentor, and
Yeah.
I'm hers.
Yeah. And it's such a beautiful thing because we are always there for each other. We are always shining that light. We are always shining the mirror, but it is done through love. It is always in a loving and caring way to only ever want to bring out the best in each other
Exactly.
and to experience the best of life. And that's, yeah, that's what it all comes down to.
Yeah,
It's so beautiful.
it is. It's
It really
amazing.
is.
It's
Yeah.
amazing.
And we
And
would, again, we would love, we mentioned last time, we would love to invite guests to come and speak with us to, you know, again, we've spoken about conscious relationships today. So let's stick with that topic, whether it be a conscious relationship or even a long distance relationship. I would love to hear from other people that have experienced long distance relationships, whether they've worked out, whether they haven't worked out, and what they've learned from them.
yeah,
How amazing.
especially in the past couple of years due to COVID,
Yeah,
like there's
absolutely.
so
That's
many
right.
people that have established long distance relationships. What we want to hear from you guys.
Hmm.
Are you guys in a long distance relationship right now? Were you, but previously, did it not work out the way that you thought it
Yeah,
would? Are you currently in one now? How is it going for you guys? We want to hear
yeah.
all of these experiences because, yeah, we are living in a
We
time
plan on
where,
coming together.
yeah,
We
exactly.
are working on paperwork and getting things organized, and we cannot wait to come together in person. It is
Yeah, because that's
the
been a
most
thing as well
exciting
with
thing that we, yeah.
Samantha being in Australia and me being in Atlanta, Georgia. It's been a challenge as well to get all of that in order with her
Mhm,
with her separation from her ex and all of that. There's just things that have been needed to get sorted out. But
mhm.
yeah, we're planning to come together
We're getting
pretty
closer.
really soon now, and
Yes.
we're really looking forward to that.
Yeah.
But we want to hear from you guys as well. We're going to
Yeah.
talk about the the value of
Mhm.
conscious separation, why it's so important. Because really, had Samantha not separated consciously with Thanos, things would not
Yeah.
have turned out the way that we would have liked for them to, especially
Mhm.
with Thanos
That's right.
being the girl's dad. That's so
Yeah,
important. And we're
it
going to
is.
dive into why people experience so much turbulence, so much
Mhm,
drama when separating with their ex, and how we can avoid all of that.
mhm. And to note also, if you want to follow the topics of conversation that we are having, we have our Medium account,
Exactly.
right, Alexander? Yeah, where
Yeah,
we,
we're basing all of our episodes on the list of articles. So you're going to get the complete
mm,
premium The Way of TBL experience by following our talks with these articles. You'll see that we have them in order. And so you're going to get even more out of these conversations by reading the articles that go even
mm,
deeper. They complement each other in a way. So yeah, check out our Medium. Feel free to take a look at our articles. We've got the link in our profile for you to check them out and follow
yeah,
along with our talks. The order in which our articles are listed in, that's basically our
mhm,
episode structure. So
yeah,
yeah, there's a lot that you guys have to
amazing.
look forward to.
That's right. All right, perfect. Well, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you guys next week.
Yeah, absolutely.
We appreciate you joining us, and until next time,
May you embody the way of TBL today in your own way.